Okay, we're recording now. So error, no error. What do you think?
I'll say error again.
And the answer is error again. But you say, hey, what's the story here? I imported random. Well, this way of importing random, you would have to say random dot rand int 1 to 100. But you know what? Life's too short to be typing all those extra characters. So there's a different way of importing just one function from a package. And that would be like this: from random import rand int. Now I can use rand int without prepending random dot. All right, let's get a little practice with that. So rand int, the first argument is the smallest possible answer that you want. Let's say 0. And then the second parameter is the largest acceptable answer. So let's say 100. How many potentially different numbers will this generate? 100 choices or 101?
101.
That is absolutely right. 101. Right. So let's try it a few times and see how random it is. Seems random. Then again, with randomness, you never really know, do you? Okay. So let's get back to our list. And how long is the list? Okay, so if I wanted to pick one of these at random, I could use rand int to select an integer between 0 and what?
4.
0 and 4, but we as human beings, we don't want to be responsible for counting. Let's let Python do the counting. So 0 and
length L minus 1.
exactly right, right. Length of L, that would be 5 minus 1. Okay, let's try that a few times. Looking good. Now let's bring it on home. So give me something from L that is chosen at random. So you can imagine that instead of one hello true 49.2, another item, you had rock, paper, scissors. And using this approach, you could choose what the computer's move was. Any questions so far?
I tried this on my end, and instead of getting like something randomly from that list, I just get 3 dots.
You get 3 dots. It sounds like, I'll bet you missed a parenthesis or a bracket. Closing paren and closing bracket. Did you?
Yes.
Okay, so just put in that closing punctuation mark and you'll get back to the chevron. So what happened there is something like this. 1, 2, and notice I have not finished, well, I'll put in 3. I haven't put in the last bracket. So there's my 3 dots. And it won't go away till I put in the closing parenthesis, closing bracket.
So I put in the closing bracket and I tried it again and it just says syntax error.
All right. Let me make it so you can share your screen. So very quickly, you'll share yours. We'll fix your problem. And then I'll move on with some new material. So give me a moment. I'm almost there. And you can share your screen now.
How do I do that?
In your Zoom window, there should be a row of buttons. One of them says share screen. And it looks like an upward arrow. Do you see that?
Yes. There we go.
Okay, so share screen, and then it's going to ask you, what do you want to share?
Here, I'll make it bigger too.
Good, good, it's happening. So here's something that's counterintuitive. To make it bigger for us, just make your window smaller. So decrease the size of your browser. Yep, it's bigger now. Okay. So let's see what you've got.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so you're at a chevron. So type in the letter A and hit return. Let's see what A is. Okay. And oh, well, at the top, all right. So do up arrow once again. And now hold on here and say, yeah, that's balanced. That's about, hit enter now. And it works.
That was
Okay, so
strange.
you were sort of screwed up because of those 3 dots.
Oh,
Try it
I
again.
see. Okay.
Yeah, try it again. Just up arrow, hit it again. Oh, do it again. Do it again.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. So no one, everyone's eyes was closed because you know you didn't want to see that. Okay. So I want to present some more material. Okay. So let's say you had a list that had 3 strings in it, rock, paper, and scissors. And you got some input from the user and they entered watermelon. And the first thing its spec says is you've got to make sure that the user's input matches a correct value. So you could type a really long thing that said, if user input is not rock, and the user input is not paper, and the user input is not scissors, then error. But that's really a pain in the rear. So they're using a list. There's a shorter way. So let's take a look at the list we have, L. So how about is 49.2 in L? I'm wondering, what do you think the answer is going to be? Predictions, please.
True.
True.
Good one. All right. So how about what do you think the answer is going to be? Okay. So the in the list, we'll actually check all of the members of the list to find out whether or not what you asked it about is in the list or not. So we could also say not in the list. For example, what would be the value of 1 not in L? What do you think?
True.
False.
Good. 1 in L, true. 1 not in L, false. And how's everybody doing? Okay, any questions? So let's say user input was something bad, bad input. So is user input in L? False. So that was bad input. Okay. All right. Let's turn to the specification itself for the project. And make sure that we understand the specification. So click on projects and project number 1. And I'll make it a little bigger. So in this specification, I talk about how to use input, that's here. And then how to select the computer's choice, where we learned that we could say from the package name, import some function. So from random, import randint. And that way you can get random integers simply by specifying randint with 2 parameters. One is the minimum value, the other is maximum value. You can use that with lists. So chapter 3.2, read and do that. It's not technically assigned, but it'll help you. So here's an empty list. Here's a list with 2 items in it, forgive me. And here is using randint. The smallest number is 0. That would be a foo. And the largest number is a 1, and that would fetch bar. So you notice how the randint is executed first, and its returned value is used as the index into the list. Okay. I also talk about using in and not in. Also in the spec is how to exit the program without getting to the end of the program. So you can exit right now. You say EXIT with open and close parenthesis. So write a little, test a little. Write a little, test a little. You always want to make sure your next step is based upon a sound foundation. So write a little, test a little. Here are the rules for rock, paper, scissors. And then finally, I'm giving you an outline of how to construct your program. So the first thing you'll do is do any imports you need to do in this program. Do you need any imports? What do you need to import?
A random integer.
Yep, randint, right, from random. Then define any lists or other variables you might need. Can you think of a list that you might need?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Excellent. Then ask the user for their choice and ensure their choice is a good one using what I taught you about saying it is something in a list. Print an error message if it's a bad input and exit. And you know how to do an exit now. It's EXIT, paren. Then select a move for the computer and then do the complicated part, which is compute the result and compute and print the result. And you have to interpret, make if statements, including nested if statements, to interpret these rules. Okay? So what I'd like you to do now, if there are no questions, go back to Replit and go to the overall menu and click on the 3 lines and say new REPL. And the new REPL is going to be called P1 or Project 1. And select a language of Python and create, whoops, P1 and create it. So now I've got a REPL named P1, and it's given me an empty file. And I'd like you to start coding your project during class. But I also want to point out, how do you turn it in? Now, the advantage of creating a REPL just for this project is you can use these 3 dots, vertical dots, to download the whole REPL as a zip file, and then you could submit the zip via Schoology. Okay? Okay, so we have 55 minutes left. Some of you may start and finish the whole project during class. I'm here. You go ahead and work on it. You can talk out loud if you'd like, ask questions, and maybe we'll be able to finish your project. That would be nice, right? So instead of showing the REPL, I'll show the spec. There. If you have a question, just sting out.
I think I might have already finished this yesterday when I was fiddling around with it, but I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. Have you tested it?
Yes, I have. The randomizer thing looked a little different from yours at the first example you gave, and it confused me, but then I looked back on the GitHub and it looked similar.
Okay. Just spilled my tea.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was shocked. You finished it already. I was, okay. All right. So if you've tested it and you think it works, tell you what can Santana do with the time that he has in this class? Why don't you email me the code? I'll take a look at it privately and give you some feedback.
All right.
And to do that, though, I have to stop sharing. I mean, even though it's nice to share, sometimes there's oversharing, and I wouldn't want to overshare.
Professor.
Yes.
So I got a question. I already did mine too. Should I send it as like a zip file or just like the text?
Well, no, I'd like you to do the following. Let me get the sharing going again. Now, have you created it in its own REPL?
Yeah, I already did the project in its own REPL.
Good, good. So go to the vertical dots here and download a zip and then submit in Schoology the zip file and I'll take care of it.
Oh, okay. I thought you're gonna give us feedback on it because I think mine works fine, but
Oh, okay, just now for some feedback?
yeah.
Oh, okay, sure. I misunderstood.
Okay.
Go ahead and email it to me, just as the text.
Okay, as a text. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
not the zip file.
If we did it in a different REPL, is there a way to copy it to a separate REPL so it's not with any other files?
Yes, use the copy paste. So you would select all of your text, copy, make a new REPL, make a new file, paste.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing so I can examine my email. Okay, I got one from Santana. All right, I'm looking it over. Okay, looking good so far. Okay. So there is something that I would like to suggest to you, Santana. And let me see if I have the other email here yet.
I just wanted to look over to just make sure it works before I give it to you.
Okay, good.
Okay, thank
So
you.
I'm going to come back to the REPL and share some advice. We have to share the screen. Okay. So in Santana's case, there was, starts a comment, by the way. So he has a variable, let's say user input has the user choice. And he has another variable, I forget the name. We'll call it computer choice. That's way too many characters, but I'll regret it in a minute. Okay. And Santana has code like this. If the user input equals is the same as rock and the computer choice is rock, then print something. And then he has elif user input is rock. Notice it's rock again. And computer choice equals paper. So you see how Santana has put together, he's broken out all the separate cases. So if the user input is rock and the computer choice is rock, user input is rock and the computer choice is paper, the user's choice is rock and the computer's choice is scissors. So that would mean that there are 3 and 3. So that would be 9 full sets of if the user input is this and the computer choice is that. So what I'm going to recommend to you is, how about doing it this way? If the user input is rock and putting the colon there, and then saying if computer choice is rock, and now you're just looking at computer choice. You see what I'm doing here, Santana?
Oh yeah, completely.
Okay, good. So what I have here will function identically to this, but will be less typing. Okay, so I'm gonna flip back here. Oh, just in case you're like missing something from Carthage campus, in case you're not on the Carthage campus, here, I can stick a goose on you. Just in case you're missing geeses. Yeah, okay, gooses, whatever. Am I alone in being disappointed that the Fighting Geese is not one of the finalists for the name? Snowing harder where I am.
Professor Perry.
I'm happy to answer you,
Did
yes.
Did you get my email?
Okay, I'll stop sharing and go take a look at your email.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, so Alvin, I've got it and I'm taking a look now. So you have a game list equals an empty list, and then game list equals and you filled it in, right?
Mhm.
So the first setting of game list to an empty list is not necessary. You could remove that.
Yeah.
Oh, this one's going to get you in trouble. It worked in this program, but it's bound to do bad things for you. You have the import random and from random import random.
Okay.
You only need the second one.
Okay. Wait. So
But
do I need the
what's that?
do I need the import random on top at all?
No, you don't. And in fact, what I was really gonna to come down on you like a ton of bricks on is having a variable named the same as a module. That will end in tears one way or another.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. I see
Yeah,
that.
don't do that. You see that? Don't do that. What you did there, don't do that.
Okay.
Okay, and also you have random 0, 2, and that's correct. 0, 1, or 2
Yeah.
are the desirable integers. That's correct. But what I'm going to suggest to you, which you can take the suggestion or not, optional, is to replace the 2 with len of game list, close parentheses, -1.
Okay.
So that way you're letting the computer figure out the right answer is 2.
Okay. And
Because the
then
length would be 3 - 1 is 2.
then would I have to change what's on the like towards the bottom of my code? Do I have to change game list 2 and whatnot? Or
No,
that
no, that is parallel. That's totally different.
okay.
All right, now let's see. So I like how you're checking for a tie and exiting immediately. That's called a short circuit.
Okay.
So I like how you did that. Oh, I see what you did here. So you recognize that there were, what you did here is you recognize that rock, blunts, scissors, you recognize that it could have been the user choice or the computer choice that was the rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that looks good. Yep, yep, I like it. But let's see, did you get them all though? Yeah. Okay, are you sure you got your indices right?
Am I sure my what's right?
Yeah, your zeros, ones, and twos. Now maybe you do, but something feels off to me.
Okay.
Have you tested your program a lot?
I've tested it and it seems to be working. I mean, so
Okay. Okay.
because there's only 4 options, right? There's the tie, the rock, blunt, scissors, paper covers rock, and the scissors cuts paper. So I think I did
Right. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Does anybody have questions? I'm looking for the right thing to display again. Everybody knows we have a tutor that you can reach out to, right? Bailey Wellen?
How do you want us to email it to you to check it over? Just can we copy and paste the link?
Copy and paste the text and just
Okay.
include the text, the program as your email text.
Okay.
I'll check it over. Oh, you're not supposed to see that. I have to stop sharing. Okay.
Professor, is there a way to undo any of the like text you make in REPLs? Like, is there an undo button?
Try Command Z on a Mac and Control Z on Windows. Does that help?
Yeah, that helps. Thank you.
Good. Okay, Matt, I've got your email. Okay, so Matt, it looks like you've got the correct functioning. I think maybe you worked a little bit too hard. So there would be ways of reducing the amount of that you wrote. So for instance, you have a big if, and then another big if, and then another big elif. So first thing I'm wondering, maybe you meant elif for the middle if, right? So you have if user choice equals choice one as a top level if, that's the big if. And then you have a next one, if user choice equals choice two. So I'm wondering if that if should have been an elif. But also notice you have a choice for tie 3 times. And there's a way that you could have looked for ties only once. So if user choice is computer choice, right?
Okay, yeah.
Comp move. What?
Yeah, I got, okay, that makes sense.
Okay. So good work, but you worked too hard.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. So Peter, you should put googly eyes on the bun, the pom-pom of your hat. And that way you're always showing a face.
Yeah, I could also do the top of the head, I guess.
Yep, yep. So by the way, if you have already done the project, feel free to look at the next project. That's kind of one of the reasons why I put them all online, even before they're assigned. But I do have one favor to ask. If you race ahead, please don't be bored. Express boredom if you've raced ahead. So that's the agreement we have. I encourage you to race ahead, but don't, act out in class because you're bored.
So Professor, I got a question. Is it, so on our syllabus, it says homework assignments / projects. Do we have homework assignments or is it just the projects?
Well, it's certainly the projects, but I reserve the right to potentially to add a different kind of homework assignment, and that's why it says one or the other.
Right.
Professor,
Yeah.
I had a question. So I have everything but the exit program thing. I tried to do it, but when I type like I try to do exit, and when I type in like rock and it's the right choice or whatever, it doesn't go to the next one because I put exit before that part in the
That's
code. and I'm
that
not
was
sure.
happening. That was happening to me too, and I didn't know how to fix it either.
Yeah.
Did you fix it, Matt?
No, I didn't yet. I was just editing to make my code shorter, and then I was gonna try and
Yeah.
figure it out, but I didn't do it
Yeah.
yet.
So if your code path, the path through your code leads to an exit, it won't get beyond that. So once it exits, it's gone. So chances are the way you have your indenting, it's inexorably leading towards an exit.
hmm
Okay. So if you'd like to email me your code,
hmm I'll do that real quick.
I'll answer more completely.
Okay. And to do that, you want it downloaded as a zip, right? Sorry.
No, in this case, just the code's so short, just select all of your code and
And then
paste
just
it
copy
into
and
an
paste.
email.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay, sounds good.
and I'll be watching for it.
Oh, for that, is it so? It just matters about the indentation. So if you indent it like after the print is not a valid move, does that? So if you have it in line with all the left, then it will continue. But if you indent it, it makes it work.
I think you tumbled on the right answer. Right, so the indentation controls whether or not a line is part of the preceding if statement or not. So it sounds like you had, if there's a bad move, say so. That say so was, that print statement was indented. I'm pointing at you over here because forget about it. So your print statement's indented, followed by an exit that wasn't indented. Is that right?
That's how mine was, yeah. And then I indented it, and then it worked.
There you go. There you go. So I think we were talking to Nicholas. Nicholas, did what Matt just said ring any bells for you?
Yeah, I actually just did the same thing. Like right as soon as he said that, I'm like, oh, it wasn't indented. Yeah.
Good job.
All right. I guess I'll still send you the code though. I think I'm done.
Okay.
So Professor, I got another question. Why is it important we have a shorter code? Like,
Well, that's a really good question. Sometimes longer code can be harder to understand. So by having less code, there's less to understand. Now, sometimes code can be so short that it's hard to understand, especially in a language like Python, because in Python, there are so many different ways of accomplishing the same thing. So the approach to your code is got to be a lot like Goldilocks' approach to soup. So if it's too long, it's too hard to understand. If it's too short, it's too hard to understand. So somewhere in between, it's just right.
All right, I sent you the email.
All right, let me take a peek. I have it. Okay. If I may suggest, you do your imports at the top all at once.
Okay.
So you have the from random import, and that's in the middle. So if you move that to the top,
All right.
that looks good. Looks good. So notice also you have print tie 3 times. So I suggest to you that you can check for a tie once and handle it once. Now, I understand why you did it because that's the way it's laid out in the rules. So I understand why you did it.
Okay, so
And
all right,
yeah.
I think I got it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So otherwise looks pretty good. So what are we're learning from this project? We are getting good experience using ifs and elifs and elses. We've got importing a package using random numbers and using lists. So folks, by doing this project, you have already learned a great deal. So good job. I checked your reading progress, and many of you have scored 100% on chapter 1. Some of you have scored lower. So please, your reading assignment is due. Go ahead and do that reading assignment. Get that score up as high as possible. 30% of your grade. It's not too demanding, so don't give those points away. Logan, are you trying to talk to me? Because you're muted. Okay.
All right, I think I fixed the code. I'll send you a new updated version.
All right.
All right, I sent the email.
All right, pulling for it. There, and there it is. Okay, so you added the code to just once, check for the tie. But after printing tie, it'll continue on with the code. So now that you've added this like
Oh
short
yeah.
circuit.
Okay, I got it. I got it. Now I got it.
Okay, yep. Good job. All right, very good. Yep, that looks good. I'm putting into the chat the YouTube playlist link for this course. And you'll see that the videos go up there as they become available. Oh. Check out this Sharpie. Size of that Sharpie. Boy, I could be president with this Sharpie. Look at that. Oh, it's enormous. Yeah, okay. Please let me know if you have questions.
Can I send you my code to check?
Sure, David, I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I also just sent you my updated one if you have time to check it quick.
Okay, one at a time. Okay, I've got Matt's. Okay, good, good. So I'm confused by this. You have a comment that says, this is for Matt, asking for the computer choice, but there's no asking there. And then it says if user choice is in the list. Yeah, I'm kind of confused by the part that says asking for the computer choice.
Yeah, that's just I guess that was just a comment because that's the part where it's just in the code it says like what the computer is. Wait. Yeah, just I guess do I not need to comment then? Because that's the.
Well,
So
commenting is good. Commenting is good, except the comment doesn't go along with the code.
Okay, yeah. So it's just printing what the computer chose if it's in the list, I guess.
Right. So why do you have why is that in an if statement?
Do I not need an if statement there? I can just print.
You can just print because if you look at the if statement above it, you've ruled out the bad case. So only what's left is good.
Okay.
What's left can only be good. Okay, otherwise looks pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me look for the second email. This is now I'm looking at David's. Okay. The David's use a little bit harder to follow because it's in a variable sized font. So the indenting is all wonky. Let's see. Good, good. Now, David, you have LST and choices, and notice they're both the same value, so you don't need both. Okay, David?
Okay.
All right. Now, also, you have variable names like X and Y. And X and Y don't help me understand your code. Something like user choice helps me understand your code. You got that idea?
Yeah.
Okay. So if Y equals rock, print rock. If Y equals paper, print computer chose paper. Could you do all of those by saying print computer chose end of string, comma, and then your variable Y? Wouldn't that do all of them in a lot less
Yeah.
code?
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Okay. Then you have if X equals Y equals Y, and that's you're looking for the tie. But if you do find a tie, you can exit the program prematurely because you found the tie. You don't need to continue on. So indented at the same level as print tie, you could have exit. And your program will run a little faster in the event of a tie. Okay, so there's some feedback for you.
Thank you.
All right, so to submit the project, we just download it as a zip and then just submit it through Schoology?
Yes,
Okay, sounds good.
correct.
Do you want us to name the main.py anything else, or can we just submit it as just main.py?
Main.py is perfect.
Okay, all right.
And I hope if you're doing the submitting that you put your name as a comment at the top of the file.
So on the top of the file where it says like from random import randit, could you just say import randit, or do you need the from random?
Well, the syntax where it just says import something, the something has to be a package name.
Okay.
And randint is a function inside the package called random. So
Okay.
that wouldn't quite work.
Okay. So when you say, let's just say we said import random, right?
Yes.
Does that just give us all the functions that allows us to import all the functions that are in random, or what is?
Well, it actually imports all the functions in random. So they would all be accessible to you
Oh,
by
okay.
prepending the word random dot and then the
Okay.
function name.
So in this file, we don't have to import random. We can just import randint because that's the only function we're using from random.
Perfect. Yes, right. That's why we're using the form from random import randint.
Okay. Thank you.
My wasn't from anything that you folks did. I discovered I have a college meeting after class. And frankly, I'm tired. As you can see, I stand for all of my teaching. So another meeting. Just to give you an idea of what it's like to be a faculty member, the name of this meeting is pre-meeting. So this is the meeting we're going to have before we have the actual meeting. Did I explain to you why, if I have this fancy headphones here, that I'm still using a cord? Okay. So gamers, especially, going through Bluetooth adds latency, and gamers hate latency, right? So this actually, using the microphone through your cordless headset puts your voice out of sync by about 60 milliseconds. So that's why I'm using the cable. So a millisecond is 1/1000th of a second. So 60 thousandths of a second. Means that, come on, gamers know that 60 thousandth of a second means the difference between life and death.
This is very true.
Yep. Okay, 10 minutes to go. If you have any questions, please let me know.
So, Professor, I got another question. I know I got a lot of questions, but what's the difference between a software engineer and a programmer? I wanted to know that, so I want to ask you.
The difference between a software engineer and a programmer,
Yeah.
about this much ego and about that much money.
Okay.
No, there's no difference.
Okay.
But clearly a software engineer gets paid more.
Okay. Why is that? Just more skill?
Sounds cooler.
Okay.
But really, it's the same thing. Yeah, you'll find there's a many examples of, you could say something simply or say it in a more sophisticated way and it means the same thing. So for instance, you're using random numbers to play rock, paper, scissors. But you could also say you're using stochastic methods to play rock, paper, scissors. And clearly, using stochastic methods is way better, way cooler, way more sophisticated than just plain old random numbers. Yet exactly, it means exactly the same thing. Hey, Brendan, can you just say hello so I know you're there? I understand you have a camera off. Just say hello. Yeah. 5 minutes to go. At this point, if you don't have a question, I will not be too upset if you were to drop off the call.
All right, thank you,
Oh.
Professor.
That Brennan heard. He's gone. Yeah, boom, out of here.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Have a good one.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. See you Thursday.
Thank you.
Have a
See
good
you
one.
Thursday.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Professor, I had a question.
Sure, Trey.
Um, I'm just having trouble getting the program to print like the outcome of the game.
All right.
Um, I've been doing like if user choice equals rock and if computer choice equals scissors, then print and then kind of like how you did before, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just
Okay.
yeah.
So what happens when you try?
I just get like I or it asks rock paper scissors and then the user inputs something and then it just comes out with the computer output and then nothing else.
Okay. Would you like to share your screen or
Um,
email me your code?
It doesn't matter.
All right, let me make sure you're able to share. Yes, you can share if you want. Okay. Would you be willing to move to the left-hand side and click on the blue folded over piece of paper so we get more room on screen? There you go. Okay. All right. User choice, nice choice. If you scroll up, I imagine you create a list. Good. Okay. Do try to avoid using the word list as a variable name.
Okay.
Yeah, so you don't have to change it now. Let me keep looking. Okay. Okay, can you scroll down? All right. And let's see what it looks like. So you run your program and it asks you, so you type in, go ahead, and you type in something. And it prints scissors, but not one of the results. So, oh, I see. I see. Okay, line 13, you're trying to do too much.
Okay.
Okay, so if you break apart the printing and the assignment of the computer's choice. So right now you're trying to assign the result of print to computer choice, and print isn't giving you a result.
Okay.
So the fastest way to fix this is to remove print open parenthesis and eliminate the red squiggle there. Good. And now your code will start working, but you may want to pretty it up. So go ahead and run it.
Okay.
Okay, good. So you probably want to add back in a separate statement that prints what the computer chose.
Okay. All right. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
good. You're quite welcome. Okay, so I hope to see you all on Thursday. Thank you for coming and thank you for all your hard work.
A quick question.
Okay,
You said the reading assignments were 30% of our grade, right?
yes,
Do we go in and answer the questions in the chapter and then you?
yes. In the Xi book, it's an interactive electronic book.
Right.
So you do the participation and that counts towards your grade, and you do the challenges and that counts towards your grade.
Okay, and you can see that.
Yeah, and there's nothing to submit. I get it electronically.
It just comes through. Okay, and I can't get. It says in the directions for the rock paper scissors to refer to chapter 5, and I can't get past chapter 1 in CY books.
All right, could you open the book and share it? Share your screen?
Yeah. I just closed it.
I only have a few minutes before that next meeting I was
Yeah, I
discussing.
have it up on. I have it up on this screen. It can kind of tell you what the error says. Yeah, it just says subscribe to ZY books for access beyond chapter 1.
Okay, so it sounds like you're not logged in, or maybe you haven't purchased the book yet.
Do I have to? Oh, so I need to pay $58 for the book.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. That answers that. I didn't know if like we had it through school, but we need to pay for the book. Cool.
okay.
And then is the tutor? When is the drop-in hours for tutor? 3:30 today.
Let me
That's
see if I can find that answer for you. That would be from the. Okay. I'm gonna put it in the chat, all right?
Okay.
Here it comes. Okay.
So what's 3:30 to 5? All right. Thank you very much. Yeah. And you have
Okay,
any-
Chad. We'll see you on Thursday.
Yeah, see you on Thursday. Thank you so much for helping.
All right.